So I think you'll just need to press OK, Lisa. It should come up on your screen. Okay, so we'll just normally have like just a few minutes of breath work just to chill us out and zone us in and ground us for a session. So we're just going to take a few deep breaths and we're going to sort of breathe right into our diaphragm, into our belly. So if you imagine your belly is like a balloon, when you breathe it in, you want to expand it. Imagine you're filling up that balloon and then a big sigh out and deflating that belly. Big sigh out. Let me hear you. That's lovely. Get rid of all of that tension and overwhelm of the day. A couple more times. Last one. And if you're comfortable on this out breath, just close your eyes and just sink down. Just ground yourself. Just feel the weight of your legs on the chair. You feel your back against the back of the chair or the sofa, whatever you're sitting on. And just continue to take a few nice deep breaths in through your nose and then out through your nose as well, if you're able. Filling up that belly, visualizing that balloon, expanding it, and then deflating it. Nice, big, slow breath out. It's the out breath which really helps relax us and sort of trigger our relaxation in our body. And just for you to give yourself permission now for this hour's for you. Be present during this session. Take in everything we talk about, but know that this hour is for you. Not being selfish or anything. This is just your time for your self-care to help you, which will then help everyone else around you. So just allow yourself to engage and be present in the moment. And if any little people disturb you, that's perfectly fine. That's just life. So don't worry about that. Don't stress about it or anything. That's fine. We'll just get on. We've all got little ones as well. Another nice deep breath in. And then a big, long, slow breath out. And then when you're ready, opening up your eyes. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit grounded, a little bit more chilled and ready to take it all in. So thank you for joining us, Lisa, and give yourself a pat on the back, putting this time aside, as I said, and taking this action to help you combat that overwhelm in your life. And first of all, we're going to give you a little bit of background about ourselves. So Mel, would you like to go first?
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so this is like my third life. So my first life, I was a teacher. I taught English abroad. I lived abroad for about 9 years. Then my second life was in HR. And that was definitely the type of job where it was really easy for overwhelm to kick in because there's never an end point and it's a very reactive kind of role. But I got involved in delivering lots of skills training. So I've been doing that for the last 17 years. And on a personal level, I've definitely experienced overwhelm. So about 6 years ago, I separated from my husband. I got a new job, I moved house, and I started dating somebody new. And that all happened within an 8-month period. And the last 3, like the job and the house and the dating someone, all happened in the final month. And I never stopped to process any of it. I was just like, yeah, crack on. And about a year later, it caught up with me. And I've also experienced it in a working environment, in a new job where I just didn't, at that point in time, didn't have the skills that I really needed to do the role. And it was very, very overwhelming and very consuming and pretty debilitating as well. So like we go on to say, we developed the strategies and started putting them in action. I did back then. That's a little bit about me. Let Tina introduce herself now.
So I've been a project manager for about the last 21 years, handling staff, third-party clients, some very awkward clients as well, and delivering things to deadlines. So obviously there's a lot of potential there for overwhelm. And occasionally it did manifest itself physically into anxiety combined with other sort of aspects of my life, relationship issues, little kids, issues with kids and stuff like ADHD and Asperger's, all of that coming at the same time as problems at home and problems at work and everything. So the overwhelm could sneak in and become quite debilitating, even to the point of like physical problems that I had with anxiety. But I've had to learn these strategies to help get back on track with that, and learn how to balance things in my life and to calm down and to cope with things like one at a time, and how to process things and not be overwhelmed by the kids and the work and relationships and all of that. So a lot of these strategies that we'll show you, I now implement daily to help me keep on top of everything in my life. And I think as a bit of a testament to that, I've changed jobs a couple of times in the last year, and have managed to not sort of suffer from any overwhelm that you would normally get, from going into a new job, just because I've put these strategies in place just to protect myself and to keep myself, in tip-top condition. So hopefully you will find these strategies useful for you as well.
Cool. Right. Are we going to show the slides?
I will
have that in the background. Yeah, and just it's not a presentation as such, but you might find it useful just as little word prompts. Okay. So overwhelm, we're going to be talking to you about overwhelm tonight. And the thing about overwhelm, and it goes much deeper than just being a bit stressed or really busy. So when you feel overwhelmed, you get completely submerged by your thoughts and emotions about all of life's current demands or problems, and often to the point where you can't think or see straight anymore. You get stuck, you can't take action, and you just don't know how to get out of it. That's what we've learned. And
sounds familiar.
yeah, well, that's good, you can relate to that. Excellent. And it's not just about work either, because I think work is just one part of our life, but you could be holding down a job like you are, then you could have work going on in the house, you could have young children, you're trying to maintain a relationship and friendships, maybe you're planning a holiday, maybe you're moving house, maybe you're redecorating, it could be anything. But whatever it is, whatever all of those things are that are milling around in your head, the impact is that you're pretty paralyzed by that, and you're just like, So on a scale of 1 to 10, how overwhelmed would you say you felt right now?
11.
Okay, great. and how confident do you feel right now about being able to tackle that and kind of get it under control?
9. Is 1 the worst? Hang on a minute. I'm not doing very well.
Yeah.
2 probably.
2. All right. Well, what we're going to try and achieve over the next hour is we're going to shift that 2, and we want to get it up. Because
I'm a very anxious person. And a lot of the things Tina said, I definitely felt that was me. I've got a lot of physical problems with anxiety as well.
Okay.
Just the migraines, and I'm just feeling very not right. So
right.
One point about that, Lisa, we have actually done an anxiety masterclass before as well, and we can send you the YouTube link to that if you're interested.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
Quite a few people that had suffered from that, so we'll send you the link for that one afterwards. Okay.
Thank you.
Lovely. So one of the things we just want to kind of talk about before we get going on the strategies is what causes overwhelm. So I think that one big thing is when we take on too much and you feel obliged to do everything, and usually feel obliged to do everything by yourself. And underpinning that, there'll be some deep-rooted reason for that. Either it could be how you feel about yourself, it could be your confidence, your belief in your own ability, or your need to control everything, and there'll be something sitting behind that as well. We won't be deep diving into that today, but what we will say is there's generally something driving that desire to take everything on. No, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Overwhelm can also be caused by either the desire or the drive to do everything perfectly.
That's me.
Yeah, you won't just do a half attempt. You'll want to do everything absolutely perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
There could be external causes of overwhelm. So it could be your boss or your partner. They're literally giving you things to do and you don't have enough time to do it in. Another cause of it is quite often we'll start thinking about what we have to do, what's coming up, and you'll start thinking about everything that's coming up. So in any given moment, you're not just thinking about what you need to do now and what you need to do in the next hour. You'll be thinking about, well, and then next week I've got to do this, and then in the next few weeks I've got this coming up, and then, oh my God, we were talking about going on holiday next year, and it's Christmas in a few months, and you'll start thinking about everything you have to do, but you're thinking about it right now, and that just makes you go, oh my God, I don't know where to start. And this one I can really resonate with is thinking about the number of things you have to do rather than how long they'll actually take you or what the real priorities are. So I know for me, much less so now, I used to go into work and I'd go, oh my God, I've got like so much to do. And I look at my to-do list like, oh my God, there's like lists and lists. And then I'd start working through and go, oh, right, the first 5 things only took me 2 minutes. Oh, okay. So for me, it was sometimes it was the thought of what I had to do rather than actually doing them. That was the cause of the overwhelm, my perception of how long it would take. And then you've got life, like major life events that can cause like emotional overwhelm. So the breakdown of a relationship, if there's any financial struggles that you're dealing with, a bereavement, having a baby, starting a new job, all of those things can also cause emotional overwhelm because they're generally new situations and you're having to use different resources to cope in that situation. So from those kind of things, what is or what has been the biggest cause of overwhelm for you, would you say? Or if there's something we haven't mentioned, then let us know.
There's a number of things. So moving house at the start of lockdown. My husband's brother died literally a few days before that. He had cancer and he died. He was 45. My uncle died as well, not long after that. I've got 2 very small children. Lockdown on it, that in itself, COVID, and I suffer from health anxiety myself, so that hasn't helped. The COVID hasn't helped. And I just feel like, as I say, 42, just feel as if, yeah, my hormones are not my friend right now.
Yeah.
So it's quite a lot.
Okay. And so the root causes from what you've said have been things like bereavement and then something that you were completely unprepared for, like COVID, along with the regular stuff that you were already dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So I think it's fair to say you probably need some strategies. So we will get cracking. Tina, over to you.
So we're going to share with you 6 different strategies for helping you overcome this overwhelm. So, excuse me. So you're able to be in control of what's happening both in your head and in your life and leave those feelings of overwhelm behind. So these strategies aren't just about time management, they're about your life and your choice management. So as you said, we're juggling jobs, some of us are running businesses, you're managing your family life, you've got the romantic life, still trying to keep that going whilst you're doing everything else, the job, the house, the kids, the food, shopping, all of that, your health and well-being. There's so many things we need to think of. And again, it's that I need to do this, I need to look after this, I need to be romantic, I need to have the kids washed and dressed and fed. And it's so easy for us to get completely overwhelmed. But by putting some of these stratagems in place, we're going to make sure that you can start to chunk things down and take some time to look at how you can manage that. So the first step is to admit that you're overwhelmed, which you've done bravely and courageously, so well done, and share that with somebody. It is the thing of a problem shared is a problem halved. Often just by talking about something, you know, it helps you start to process things and think about it, and it'll help you feel that a weight's been lifted. And there's no shame in admitting that you're feeling overwhelmed. Modern life is so demanding. We've got so much to juggle. But if we could support one another and openly tell people that we're being overwhelmed, you know, a lot of people will step up and help you. And hopefully that's what we're here to do as well for you. Help you through this, give you some strategies and support you through that. So you can get overwhelmed by thinking about everything you want to do, as well as everything you have to do. So the first thing we're going to do is get clarity. Over to you, Mel.
Yeah. So when we talk about getting clarity, we're talking about getting clear on what you really want to achieve or focus on. So if you're relatively new to me and Tina, you won't know this, but we actively make the efforts to remove language of obligation from our vocabulary. So when we're talking about getting clear on what you want to do, we mean what you want to do. It's not about prioritizing what you should be doing or what you need to do. And that's really the main crux behind getting clarity. It's about what you want to focus on. And that applies to work and to your personal life. Because what Tina and I have probably both experienced is we probably got pretty good at the work management because we've been working for way too many years. And you get kind of used to going into work and having your to-do list and being quite organized. And then your personal life is something that just happens around that. So when we talk about getting clarity, we're really keen to bring in the fact that you're getting clarity on what you want in your work life and in your personal life. And when you get really clear on what it is you want to achieve, either that week, that day, that month, it helps you to eliminate all the noise and all the distractions that are going on around you and focus on what's really important to you. Because there's noise around us all every day, and it's things like doing the dishes and hoovering the living room and picking up after the kids and cleaning the bathroom and answering emails or keeping up with WhatsApp groups or whatever it is, and that's all noise. So when we have a huge list of things, like our massive to-do list, what happens is that just gives us more to choose from. And the more you've got to choose from, the more you have to think about it and the more you have to plan. And that can actually cause more overwhelm. And all the time you're doing this, you're not really getting anything done. So we talk about getting our clients to really focus and choose areas of their life that they want to focus on right now, or this week, or this month. So we're not talking about tasks, but we're talking about goals. We're talking about how you want to feel, what you want to achieve, and what you want to make progress with. So,
but can I just ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I don't want to sort my spare room out because it's just got overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I do want to sort it out so that I feel less stressed about it. So you're talking about stuff like that I don't really want to do it, but once it's done, I know I'll feel better. Or are you talking about the things where I just want to go and have a lovely walk on the beach? That's what I really want to do.
Definitely the second one. Sure. And with the first one, that's quite an interesting situation, because the spare room, with it being in a mess and it just being overwhelming, could be triggering more overwhelming you, because it's on your mind and you're aware and it's messy. And actually, if it was nice and tidy and cleaned up and clear, that would make me feel loads better.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be something that you feel like you need to do, but actually deep down inside, if the desire to have that room clear, so you no longer feel stressed out by it, then that becomes a want. Actually, I want to get cracking on that, because the end result for me is going to be fab. Mm-hmm. It means once it's done, I'm going to feel loads better. So mm-hmm. I never do housework. Really bad. I just don't do it, except when there's people coming round, and then I go into overdrive. However, every now and again, I can feel like the house is like, oh, it's just getting on top of me. I don't want to do the housework, but I want a nice environment. So this is where a little bit of reframing is really helpful. So rather than going, oh God, I have to do the housework, I just switch it around and go, I want to do the housework, because what I'm going to get out of that, that's what I really want. Mm-hmm. I want the clean space. I want to be able to find things. I want to be able to walk through each room and kind of go, oh, that's nice. Mm-hmm. Especially my dining room, where we've got pet rats in a cage, and they're just like, oh. I walk in sometimes and go, oh my God, they need cleaning out. Oh, I don't want to clean them out, but I do want to work in a really nice smelling environment. Oh, that's my motivator. Does that help?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I think we'll probably go on and talk about this, and we talk about it a lot in the group as well, about reframing, because switching it round from making it into an obligation and turning it into a desire in your brain starts going, oh, she wants this. All right, she wants it, I'm up for it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
The thing about obligatory kind of language as well, Lisa, is you're going, I need to do this, I have to do this. Then when you don't do it, you beat yourself up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you talk, unkindly to yourself, because you're like, oh, you can never do it, can you? So you just have to tidy the room, but you can't, can you? So you start to berate yourself, which then just gets you into that vicious cycle. So again, it's part of the reframing of, I would love to walk in the room and to look and go, isn't that a beautiful, tidy room? I've done that. I'm brilliant. I'm amazing. And I've done something and put my mind to it, rather than the negative kind of thoughts that we automatically get into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So earlier on, we were saying as well, it's when you're thinking about what it is you want to do, it's really useful to tune into how you want to feel as well. So, for example, you might say, do you know what? Next week, I want to have some energy. I want to feel good. I want to wake up in the morning feeling like I've had a really good night's sleep. Because right now I'm feeling knackered and just heavy and just not good. That's how I want to feel. So that will become your goal. Mm-hmm. And then you can choose things that are going to help you achieve that goal. And it could be really simple things like, do you know, all night next week, I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock. No, I'm going to bed at 9:30. and I'm going to take a cup of Horlicks up to bed with me, and I'm going to make damn sure I do that. And we'll come on and talk about how we do that a little bit later on. And when you're doing this, when you're thinking in advance and right, next week I want to feel like this, next week I really want to focus on this, then you're being decisive, you're in the driving seat, and you're not reacting to what other people are potentially putting in your way or things that are coming up. And that in itself is a really good head start on overwhelm, because you're like, I'm making this decision now. That's what I want for next week. And now I've got a plan, and I can start thinking about what I need to do to make that happen. So here's where you need your pen and paper. Have a go at finishing these sentences. So thinking about next week. Next week, I want to focus on, could be one thing, could be two things, maybe three things max.
Okay, do I tell you them?
Yeah, you can tell us.
The spare room, some exercise for me, because I've been saying I'm going to go swimming for the last 4 weeks or something, and I just don't do it because I keep thinking, oh, it looks horrible and dark and cold out there, I don't want to do that. But I know I'll feel great if I do it, and I know I'll be proud of myself if I do it. Sorting out my photos, because I always do this at Christmas and put this pressure on myself to make calendars for my family and I have to sort a whole year's photographs out in about 2 days.
Now that in itself, that's an awful lot on top of what you're going to do every day, your job, the kiddies, being at home, running home, all of that stuff. So we'll keep it at those three. Right. Finish the next sentence. I have chosen these because
I know I'll feel great when they're done.
So one of the things we talk about a lot as well is connecting to your why. Because if you haven't got a reason for doing something that's really strong, then you'll either do it with a heavy heart out of obligation, like Tina was talking about, and then you beat yourself up if you don't do it, or you'll simply just won't do it. So that sentence is about you remembering why the things that you're choosing to focus on are important to you. And then the last, was that what you'd written for your second sentence? Because you feel great when they're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the last sentence is, this will benefit me because
I'll feel less stressed because it'll take one of those things off the to-do list, and the to-do list will get shorter.
Okay, what else?
I'll feel happier.
What about that will make you feel happier?
Because when I've made my calendars, I'll know I'll have made something nice for my family. I know exercise will help me feel better in myself. I know tidying the house, I'll just feel, like you say, when you walk in and you think, it's all nice and tidy, and not walk in and feel overwhelmed by it.
Yeah, but are you tidying the house or just one room?
Well, one room, but that's why I never do, because it's just the general tidying the house that always takes over, and I never get to that deeper level. It's always like skimming the surface.
Except for next week, because now you've just written down that next week you're going to focus on the spare room.
Right.
That's all. and you're giving
right.
yourself permission to just worry about the spare room.
Right.
And so this kind of exercise where you've got this week I want to focus on, and I've chosen this because, and the benefit will be, it's a really good habit to get into doing that either on a Friday, which kind of it's kind of coming to the close of the week, or on a Sunday. It took me a really long time, and Tina can tell us how it works for her, but it took me a really long time to stop doing this on a Monday morning and to start doing it either on a Friday or a Sunday, because then when it got to Monday morning, I was already one step ahead in the week. How about you, Tina?
Yeah, I do much more things on the Sunday evening now. When you're chilled and relaxed and you've got time then to sort of plan them in. Like you said, Monday morning, you know, the kids getting ready for school, you've got work, you've got to walk the dog. It's all of those things suddenly kick in. So yeah, when you've got time for me, Sunday afternoon is when I do mine.
Yeah, I'm just going to grab something to show you. Right, I did have it next to me and then I moved my laptop. So I use this, I don't know if you can see it. So it's like a weekly plan.
No, I've got one of those similar. Mm-hmm.
And the thing I really like about this is it's small. So I can't actually get a lot in on each day. And I've got quite big writing. So where it's broken down in the week, there's one thing that I'm going to focus on. That's it, because I can't get much more on. And it's a nice little visual. So it's great that you've got a tool.
But mine's A3 size. Maybe it's too big.
Cut it in half.
Well, actually, that's quite apt, because I'm gonna hand you over to Tina now, who's going to talk to our second strategy.
So the next one, let me do the slides, is task management. So as Mel mentioned, you know, you can think you've got 50 different tasks to do all at the same time, and everything's as important as one another, and it overwhelms you completely. And we can fill up our days with all those little tasks, like the washing up, the tidying, the keeping on top of the house, tidying in general, like you said, so you never actually get down to any of the more substantial things. So what is good to do is to identify what's most urgent, what needs to be prioritized, as in your why, you know, what you want to focus on. So one of the tools that we have is an open and closed list approach. And this isn't about doing a general to-do list. It's about being super efficient at prioritizing what needs to be done. Okay, not just creating more stuff and getting stuff done. It's about focusing on what the most important tasks are that are aligned to your focus and your goal that you've got for that next week, for example. So you can create two tasks lists. So you've got an open list and you've got a closed list. The open list is your long one, the things that you need to get done in the next few weeks or month. And then you move 3 tasks from your open list to your closed list. And then you put that open list away. Okay, put it in the drawer. Don't look at that till next Sunday. And everything that's on your closed list, those 3 tasks, are what you need to do over that next week. And when you cross something off that closed list, and only when you do that, you can actually take out your open list and put more one thing in it. If that feels achievable, if you feel that those 3 tasks are the only thing that you can do that next week, bearing in mind you've got a job, you've got kids, you've got a house and everything else to look after, then just keep it to that 3 tasks and just check them off as the week goes. Come Sunday, you've checked them all off, then you can get your open list out and put 3 new next urgent high priority tasks on there. So it keeps you just looking at the most urgent things rather than looking at that list of 20, 30 tasks that you need to do. It stops you getting bogged down and really helps you to prioritize. It also helps you to say no to other things and say no to other obligations that you haven't prioritized to be your focus.
But what happens if there's more than 3 that you know have to be done? Like say there's a birthday coming up and you've got to do some birthday shopping, or, you know, Christmas is coming up, you've got a lot of things to do for Christmas, and if you don't do them, you're going to miss a deadline. And how do you just stop? Do you just have to sacrifice it and not let it happen? Or
Well, I doubt you're going to get more than 3 birthdays in a week, are you? Hopefully they'll be spread out so you can choose one of those a week. And then, yeah, with Christmas, so maybe each week you could say, right, get some of the Christmas list, you know, right, I'm going to get this week, I'm going to get a present for my friend. Next week, I'll get a present for my mum. Next week, I'll get a present for my husband, and try to split them out that week. Split them out, so one thing per week. It's trying to keep yourself overwhelmed. And if you do manage to maybe tick one off and you're feeling happy to, you could add another one, like, okay, right, I've got my best friend's present. I really enjoyed doing that. Maybe I'll look for my, my mum's present. So it's because you're also getting that feeling of satisfaction as well. But it's trying to keep the overwhelm down by setting yourself specific goals that are realistic and achieving them, okay, rather than thinking, oh, I've still got all those other things to do. That's the whole thing of overwhelm. You're still thinking about that open list, which you need to put away. Okay, so try to keep 3. The brain finds it very difficult to cope with more than 3 sort of tasks on a to-do list, bearing in mind you've got everything else going on in your life. Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah.
So focus on what you can do and what you want to do. And if it's not on your closed list, then just forget about it for that week. So can you think of any tasks that you're currently juggling in your life that you can say no to keep you focused on that closed list?
Well, yeah, things like keeping the house tidy, but it'll just end up being a bomb site. I've got 2 children who don't know how to be tidy, despite my efforts to teach them. I don't know.
How do you think you could sort of keep on top of that? Could you maybe like set 5-10 minutes to sweep through and do it, and just keep it at a reasonable kind of level? Because you're tidy up, you know what happens the next day, don't you?
Just be the same.
Yeah, I go in my daughter's bedroom, I tidy it, 10 minutes later she's gone in there, and I swear she's put on like a clothes cannon that goes off everywhere. So it, again, trying to limit it to an achievable task of, right, I have 5 minutes now to just go around, pick everything up that, for me, I like the floor to be clean. That's my thing. So if the floor's clean, then I'm pretty happy. Trying to set yourself achievable sort of goals. And we will come to a little bit of this in a minute, of underperformance as well. Okay. So if you stick with us, but so that's one task. Can you think of anything else which you've got in your head which isn't really that important? Maybe it's an obligation thing, you feel you should be doing it, but do I really need to do it?
Sorting the girls' clothes, because I'm overwhelmed with their clothes, because they grow out of them every 5 minutes, and then I've got a whole set. I mean, they're still quite young, so they're growing quite fast. So so I end up with bags of clothes and then have to give to my friend who's got a little girl who's younger, and then it's going to visit her to give her them, and
okay.
Yeah, and
so how could you help? How could you help with that one as you go along through the weeks and identify something that doesn't fit anymore? What can you do?
Well, I've just been putting it in a pile in the study.
Okay, cool. And do you think maybe you could invite your friend to come round to pick it up? You are in fact doing her a favor and giving her clothes, and then you could maybe
This is true.
Yeah. So again, it's relinquishing some of the control, because a lot of the overwhelm I've found personally for myself is control. It was about me trying to control everything, and then I would get overwhelmed with it. And actually, people like to help, people like to have some interaction. So if you said to your friend, I've got this bag for you, do you want to come around and pick it up, and we can have a chat and have a catch up and a coffee? It's nice, you've got the interaction. She's actually coming to you, taking them off your hands, rather than them sitting there in the study or by the front door waiting and reminding you every time you go past the front door, I must go to my friend's house, I must go to my friend's house, why is it still there? So think of different ways to try to help you, rather than you just doing everything yourself. Brenda might really enjoy coming round and having a cup of coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and we touched on this earlier, I think sometimes we underestimate how happy other people feel when they help. And they feel like, oh, I've helped Lisa then. It was quite a nice feeling. And it would be wrong of us to rob people of those nice feelings. But what I would say to that is as well, if that's a thing that's getting on top of you, if that is a source of your overwhelm, you could say, right, next week, if I don't do anything else, I'm taking those clothes out. And if I get that done next week, I'll feel really good about myself. And then that becomes your goal, because you want to feel that clutter is gone. You want that space and that, like, I can breathe now, or that mental that peace of mind, got it's done. So that would become your thing.
But that's kind of like a subcategory of me spare room. So my spare room's so overwhelming, but that's part of that room. So some of the girls' clothes are in there. So then I've moved them to the study. So they're kind of linked. I have like lots of levels with each problem. So.
And I think this, and you know, I'm kind of slightly going off tangent here, but we talk about eating the elephant. And if you think the spare room, make that the thing for the month, right? That's your elephant. But actually, the first thing you're going to do is just the bags of clothes. And if that's what you do next week, that's what you do next week. But that's one thing you've achieved, that you've eaten like the front left leg of the elephant. And you've done it. Brilliant. Because quite often I put off my sense of achievement until the whole thing has been complete. Like, the whole house has to be tidy before I can go, I've done it, instead of reveling in the fact that one room is beautifully pristine and clean. And that's pretty good. And I'll stop there, because actually that was the goal I set myself.
Good on deadlines.
Yes. So now this seems like a really obvious one, but it's only really come into my conscious mind literally in the last few weeks. Set deadlines. So used to doing this at work, but not in my personal life. So I was talking to Chris, my partner, the other day, and I said to him, what's the first thing you do when you get engaged? And he was like, oh, what, are we getting engaged? Like, no, we're not getting engaged. It's just a general question. You don't have to freak out, okay? Just, when you've done the proposal and the ring's on the finger, what's the first thing people generally do? And he was like, set a date, like bingo. And what happens to the people who never set a date? They're the ones who 6 years down the line, they're still not married. Yeah. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, it's so easy to think, I'll fit it in at some point. I'll get that done at some point. But setting a deadline actually creates a psychological necessity. You've got a deadline, you've got to get it done. If you've planned that wedding day for the 1st of June 2022, then it's happening then. If you never have that, you'll keep drifting and drifting and drifting. You might go wedding dress shopping, you might pick the favours, you might decide your colour scheme, you might have the invitation. If you haven't set the date, it ain't going to happen. So the other thing, when you've set your deadline and you've met it, you get that sense of achievement. So psychologically, you're like, I'm winning, I'm making progress, I'm getting things done. So right now, how do you feel about setting deadlines?
Good. I think that sounds good.
Does it anything come up for you? Anything? Oh God, I've got a deadline. Are you like, yay, I've got a deadline? Or are you like,
I work much better with deadlines. I work better under pressure.
Yeah.
Because I would normally just go to bed and think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Whereas if I know I've got that deadline, I will just stay up and do it, even if that means like not going to bed till 2 o'clock in the morning. So I will try a bit harder if I've got a deadline.
fantastic. So that's clearly something that you know works for you. It's worked in the past, it would work again. Deadlines used to freak me out. Like, oh my God, deadline. And I'd start telling myself I'll never get it done. And that was all in my head, because actually in reality, like you've just described, I've worked really well to deadlines, because I tend to get a lot of satisfaction from being like ticking it off. I'm a girly swat, tick, it's done. So if that works for you, then that is brilliant. And so we'll take a couple of steps back. You've decided your goal next week is the spare room. That's going to be your big focus for next week. And in amongst that, you've got the bag of clothes. So that's on your closed list. Move the bag of clothes. Tell us now, make a commitment. What's your deadline going to be for next week? When are those clothes going to be out of your room?
Oh, I was thinking the end of the week.
Okay, so what is that? Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Friday.
Friday. What time on Friday would you like to commit to? I promise we won't ring you and check. We will.
10 o'clock.
I was just going to write down there, check in on Friday.
I don't know, 11 p.m.
Right, so by 11 p.m. next Friday, you will have no bags of your daughter's clothes in the spare room. Imagine how great you're going to feel on Saturday morning. So when you've done that, so you've got your goal, you've got your task, you've got your deadline, the next step is to protect time. Decide, right, if I need to get that done by 11 o'clock Friday night, what do I have to put in place to make sure that gets done? So it might be a case, well, normally on a Friday, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm not going to do that. Between 5 and 7, I'm doing that. And again, this is about you taking control and not being controlled by all the noise that's going on around you. So can you tell us how you can ensure what are you going to do to meet that 11 p.m. deadline on Friday?
I've already changed my mind, because I need the weekend to have all this time. The Monday to Friday is not going to work. I need Saturday.
Right, okay, brilliant. Because you're deciding that a week in advance. You're not deciding that on Saturday afternoon. So you're thinking ahead, going, right, Saturday afternoon, great. Because when you make it achievable for yourself, it's much more enjoyable, because you know you'll get it done. So what's your revised time for Saturday? Just checking.
11 p.m.
11 p.m. Saturday night.
Yeah.
What do you need to do on Saturday to make sure you can do that?
Send the kids to their dance class, and then I'll have a couple of hours in the morning, and then we've got swimming with them in lunchtime, and then they'll probably come back and just watch a little bit of TV, and I can just do a little bit then.
Fantastic. So those are your time slots. And we'll there's something else that we'll talk about a bit later on that'll help you with that as well. So great, we're getting somewhere. And what we're basically doing is building up a habit that you can start putting into action week in and week out to help you overcome the overwhelm. Right, I'm handing over to Tina. I love this one, actually, what Tina's going to talk about. It's like my favourite thing, because I'm actually quite
Yeah, so now we're going to talk about underachieving. So often, as we've mentioned, overwhelm is linked to thinking you have to do everything perfectly. And you did admit yourself that you're a bit of a perfectionist at the start. Yeah. So this is a bit radical. Okay, it might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but you don't have to do everything to the absolute sparkling, pristine, nth degree. Okay, what's the bare minimum that you could do? Just enough approach to get done what you need to get done. So when you did mention before about next week, I want to tidy the spare room, I went, oh, that sounds quite a big job. First of all, chunking it down, and we've got down to the, well, actually, what about next week just clearing the clothes from the room? Okay, so again, it's like you set yourself a big shiny goal of clearing the whole room, and you've already realized, as you've talked through, actually Monday to Friday is quite busy with everything else going on. Actually, I need the weekends to do things. So here we're sort of thinking, like, what's the bare minimum that I could do, the smallest kind of task, and just do enough to feel like I'm getting there. So we've got the just clearing the girls' clothes bags out. And you can apply this to everything that you do. What's the bare minimum that I need to get through? Okay. And that's perfectly fine to do that. There's perfection does not exist. Okay. There's no such thing. You just need to do enough to get by and to fulfill the task or the goal that you have. So I've adopted this approach with my house as well. I used to have cleaning days every Monday. I would get very controlling about it. If my husband tried to help me, I wouldn't let him, because I would think he was making a comment that I couldn't do it myself. And I would get all consumed, and I would try to rip through the house, like before I even went to work, and like frantically cleaning the house. And my anxiety would definitely build up with this really badly, and I would feel it was my job to do it all. Whereas now I've got to the point, I am in a different house and I'm on my own, so I don't really have anybody else to answer to now, apart from the kids who just make most of the mess. And what I do now is I clean as and when I need to. Yeah. So if the kids have traipsed loads in, then I'll hoover. But if it doesn't need it, I don't do it. And occasionally I'm like, oh, I feel like cleaning now. Oh, I've got a bit of a cleaning urge, so I'll have a clean, because the house is never as bad as you think it is. Yeah. And I know you might look and go, the kids' stuff is everywhere, but it's just a normal house. I'm sure your house is just normal like everybody else's. So it's doing the bare minimum of those mundane tasks that you need to do, and then that should give you time to spend on other enjoyable things, that goals and that focus to do the things that you really want to do, like the walking on the beach, or having a bath and listening to a podcast, or playing with the kids, going to the park. So again, it's coming back to the thing of like, well, I can't concentrate on the spare room because I've got to keep the general house under control. Just the bare minimum, the 5 minutes, just to blitz it and run around. And then you can then focus your energy and your time on those goals and those tasks that focus that you really want to do. So is there anything you can think of where you can strategically underachieve, where you can be not perfect and just get by?
Yeah, basically the house.
The house.
Yeah, just what you just said. I really relate to that. Not think I've got to make gourmet meals and just try and make something quick and it's still okay. And
yeah, because how old are your kiddies?
3 and 5.
Yeah, they're not food critics.
No.
They don't know.
I just get told that it's absolutely disgusting no matter what I make. One told me that it was lovely and the next told me it was horrible today. So I just think, what's the point?
I take a bit of pride in that. At one point, I was in my head, I was like, what is the crappiest food I can get away with giving them? And then I realised I didn't have to worry about that because their grandma does it effortlessly. So that's like my ex-husband's mum. And I'm like, oh my God, the kids, like, they've only got yellow food on their plate or whatever. I'll go and pick them up and I'll go, what have you had for tea tonight? Like, we've had potato waffles with beans and then we've had like a wagon wheel for afters. And I'm like, I don't think potato waffles were even past food standards anymore. But anyway, their mother-in-law's got them all in a freezer. So I feel like, do you know what? I'm doing all right. If I've made a decent, like, if I've made my own burgers and a few of my own potato wedges, I'm doing all right. And you can almost just in your head, right? You know, we sit down and go, right, what have I got to do? What have I got to do this week? Switch it around and go, what can I get away with not doing this? What can I not? And I do literally look at my bathroom and go, can I get one more week out of it? I don't want to shave the legs. I reckon the bath would last another few days, definitely.
But this,
and it kind of becomes a bit fun, really.
but it's also about, it's not that we're just being lazy cows and not doing anything. We're filling that. We're filling that time with other things that bring us joy. You know, like the walking on the beach, playing with the kids. Yeah, because that time doesn't come back, does it? You know,
No.
It doesn't matter how clean your bathroom is. It's more important to, you know, do things that light you up.
Yeah, and I think that is a really good point, Tina. So, you know, earlier on when we talked about what's my plan for next week, it's so important to make part of that plan your fun time, your downtime, your I'm going to switch off time.
And I don't get any of that at the minute. I don't have that.
And I think Tina and I are probably going to disappoint you now by saying there isn't going to be someone who knocks at your door with a big silver cloche, and when you lift it up, they go, "Here's your downtime." And you go, "Oh, thank you." You've got to make that yourself, and you've got to be pretty ruthless about it. And maybe your kiddies are a little bit too young yet, but it's never too young to start brain training them around. Mummy's having downtime. I need my personal space. And my daughter now says that. She's nearly 9. And she goes, I need my space. And I'm like, brilliant. You go, it's fine. I won't miss you. You go. But joking aside, like, it's so important. I don't know if you've ever seen, there's a picture of what makes me productive. And it's like 100% work. And then the next image is what makes me really productive. And it's a pie chart that's broken down into work, rest, fun, healthy living. And it makes you realize that actually being a productive person consists of so much more than just like work. And if you extend that to being a happy, calm, joyful person, there's a lot more to it than work, housework, chores, bed. So keep switching off. And actually, this is the next point on the slides.
I just want to check, Lisa, are you okay to stay on? Because I know we have overrun.
Yeah, I was getting a bit worried because I could hear crying upstairs, but it does seem to have all gone quiet. So I think I'm okay.
We will keep going then if that's okay. And at any point you need to dash off, you just let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so the last kind of mindset strategy is really about that. It's about being present, slowing down, or sometimes just stopping altogether. So, and this works really well for emotional overwhelm as well as task overwhelm, because when you are in busy mode, when you're in overwhelm, your brain is in what we call beta mode. So it's really switched on, it's super switched on, it's working fast, it's concentrating, it's really working hard. When you switch off and you relax, it puts your brain into alpha mode, where you aren't concentrating, there's nothing to really focus on, and it really brings you down. And that's a really important state to put your brain into, because it gives your brain a rest. But then it also allows your brain to do its other job, which is to kind of think and come up with solutions.
What happens if you don't have any alpha time? What happens?
Well, like I said, with the cloche, it's not going to be given to you. You need to make that time. So when you're planning at the beginning of the week, so when it's your Friday night or your Sunday afternoon and you're thinking about the week ahead, we try and do one thing every day. And it could be something really, really small, like just going to bed 15 minutes earlier. Tina is shit hot with her meditation every day. She doesn't spend hours doing it, but she does it every day just to give her that downtime. I'm not so good with it. I don't very often do it, but what I will do is I'll go to bed with a book, or I'll watch half an hour of TV. So the kids have a bedtime and we stick to that bedtime. And when they're in bed and I'm sitting on my sofa looking at all the cobwebs around the room, because that's not going to get done till Christmas Eve. It's just that switch off time, but you've got to be really conscious about it. And I'm really aware of my language there, and I am using the language of obligation, because you have to be really conscious about it, because unfortunately if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it for you, because guess what, everybody else thinks you're having a great time because you keep doing it. And I saw this quote somewhere the other day, and it really, like, wow. And it was really simple. What you are not changing, you are choosing.
Okay.
So when you're in that hamster wheel and you're not doing anything to slow it down or to step off it, you're actually choosing to be on that hamster wheel. And that's something that I think, it's a really simple sentence, but when you really start thinking about it, I think it pushes buttons.
I think this is me, to be honest. This is like ringing home a lot.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned as well, didn't you, Lisa, specifically, did you say what happens if you don't have that alpha time? So if you think, if you're in that beta mode all the time, your brain's whirring and you're whirring, okay, it's very much like the fight and flight reaction that we get, that response that we get. And when we were cavemen, we had fight or flight, and we would have that adrenaline rush and that stress, that cortisol inside us, to enable us to run away or to fight. Okay, and that would expend that cortisol from our body. It would use it up. These days we don't do that. We have a lot of fight or flight reactions to things that aren't real. It's perceived stuff in our brains. If you think you're filling your body up with that cortisol and that adrenaline, but you're never actually dispelling it, so it builds up and it builds up in the body. And if you are constantly doing that beta and having no downtime to actually sort of relax and flush it out, let it get out of your body, we have a saying that the issues on your tissues, it starts to build up. You get burnt out and you get ill, you get physically ill. And I can say that happened to me. Yeah, I got to the point where I couldn't really leave the house because my anxiety got so bad, it built up and it manifested itself physically in me that I had problems leaving the house. So that's the thing, until you actually stop and have that downtime and give yourself permission and say, for my own well-being, I need to stop and be still and process things. Your body can only take so much. But this is also where it helps to have somebody to be accountable to, okay, which is where we can sort of come in and help people, because trying to find that downtime and you've just got yourself to be accountable to, it can be quite difficult to be disciplined like that. So that's where it does help to have other people help you be accountable and to remind you of that. So that's a good reason to try and, you know, move yourself out of those beta waves and have some downtime in the alpha waves. And it can be 10 minutes a day, as simple as that.
Yeah, I think that's really key, that it doesn't have to be like hours and hours of time. And telling the people around you that you're taking that time is really helpful. And one of the things you can do, if you, like me, if I'm not practiced in the art of meditation, but I can sit in silence, just sit with my eyes closed in silence for a minute or 2 minutes, and even that just switches your brain off. And one of the things that we've been building up is your planning, and you're setting your deadlines, and you know when you're going to do things. So when you've got that in place, when you come to do the thing you've chosen to do, you can really focus on that and get completely absorbed in it, because you know when you're going to do everything else, because you've scheduled them in. And being really focused on what you're doing at that moment in time is also a good way of bringing your brain down and focusing on one thing. Because Tina and I got over multitasking way back because we realised it wasn't really as good as we make it out to be. It's nothing really to be proud of, being able to do 20 things at once, because chances are you're doing 20 things not brilliantly or not to your satisfaction, or it's just doing your head in trying to do 20 things at once. So this leads us on nicely to the last strategy. I'm handing over to Tina for this because we've kind of been building up to this. And Tina's going to take you through some breath work that will really help you to just...
So I do just want to check, Lisa, that you are okay to carry on.
Yeah.
So this is just going to be a few minutes of breath work. And as I mentioned before, the exhalation is where the relaxation occurs. Okay. So again, if you just want to put your hands in your lap and take, if you're happy to do so, just close your eyes. And I've
just got the phone in my hand, so I don't know what to do with it. I'll just hold it in my hand.
Hold it. Yeah, that's fine. Just so you relax though. But if you're happy, just close your eyes. And I want you to breathe in to the count of 4, 2, 3, 4, and then breathe out to the count of 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe into the count of 4, 2, 3, 4, and out to 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and carry that on yourself for a few breaths. In for 4, and out for 6. And as you're breathing in, expanding that belly. And as you're breathing out, deflating that belly. Try and visualize that balloon that you're blowing up and letting down. If your mind wanders, just bring it back to the breath and the counting. It's perfectly natural if your thoughts do wander. It's normal and natural. Don't worry about that. Just bring yourself back to the breath and the counting. And then when you're ready, just gently open your eyes. So I don't know if you can feel, just by pausing just for a couple of minutes, you're bringing yourself down into those alpha waves. And that does help recharge you. I find just doing like a 10-minute breathing or even a 5-minute breathing, it's like having 40 winks. It's amazing. It just recharges you. And you can do that anywhere with your eyes open. I quite often, if I'm standing in a queue, I'll just start doing the breathing because I think, well, I'm not doing anything else. And rather than get stressed about standing in a queue, just do a little bit of breath work. It's very discreet. Nobody knows you're just breathing, but it's the slowing down of the breath and really extending the exhale. That's the really key point about bringing the relaxation in and just calming the body down. So just remember that if you ever get het up or stressed or overwhelmed, just stop for a minute. Everything can wait for like 30 seconds, a minute, just doing some breathing. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do that a little bit, actually. I think my mum's always tried to get me to do that. In for 4, out for 4. I haven't done it to 6, but yeah, it'll help me during labour as well.
Yeah, 4 and 4 is very much a box breathing, keeping it continuous, and that's just like a sort of a balanced kind of state. If you extend the out breath, that's where the relaxation really comes in. So
okay,
try to just extend it a little bit more. Cool. So I think you have a mantra for us, Mel.
Yes. So my old mantra was, I've got to get everything done. My new mantra to keep overwhelm at bay is, I know what I want to do and when I'm going to do it. So what we'd like you to do to wrap up the session is to think of a mantra for yourself that you can tell yourself every day about what it is you've got going on.
Okay.
You can just have a few ideas and then you can work on it later to perfect it, but just share whatever's on your mind now to start shaping your new approach to your life management.
Like focus on one task basically, because I'm off on tangents all the time, and I'm always on my phone googling something, and then I'll think of something else and go down on that tangent, and I just need to focus on one thing and sort of, like you say, filter out all of the, what did you call it?
The noise.
The noise, yeah. Filter out the noise and focus on what's important.
Yeah.
I think that's
so my laptop will occasionally just start glitching and things will start opening themselves. I'm like, I'm literally not even touching anything and screens are opening and things are popping up and things are closing down, and like 20 Excel spreadsheets will just suddenly start opening. So I turn it off and I turn it back on, leave it for a minute and I turn it back on again, and generally it's okay. And it's the first advice you get from IT, isn't it? Something's going wrong, but have you turned it off and turned it back on again? And we operate in the same way.
Yeah.
You turn yourself off and then you can switch on again.
Yeah.
Okay, so appreciate it's only been just over an hour, but what are you going to do differently as a result of what we've talked about tonight?
Well, I've written down all of the 6 strategies, and they all made great sense. There was a couple that really seemed to ring home. The slow and stop, definitely. I think I'm my worst enemy, really, and I need to do something to give myself some more time. The set deadlines, I think, is really good as well, because like you say, you think, oh, I'll just do it sometime, but actually putting a deadline on it might actually get it done. And the open and closed list, definitely I'll do that, because I write the list, but it's always the open list. I never have the closed list.
No,
I'm just not sure how well I'll do it just doing those 3, but yeah. And I suppose
I was just going to say, sorry, I think Tina did say once you've crossed something off,
yeah, I like that.
You are allowed to put something else on if you've got time to do it.
Yeah, that's true. I just feel like my weeks get sabotaged. So I've got this plan, but then I'll get a migraine on Saturday morning, and that'll just take out Saturday or something like that. Or like I'm taking the kids to Kielder. So I couldn't do that this Saturday, but
that's where you can plan ahead though, isn't it, Lisa? So like next week, you're going to Kielder, so you're not going to get anything done at the weekend other than have fun and spend time with your family, which is your focus and your goal for that week. So put that on your closed list. Have fun and spend time with the kids. That's really, really important. It doesn't have to be, material kind of, things that you've got to do, like tidying the house or tidying the room and things like that. Have fun and connect with your kids and spend time with them. That's your goal for next week.
That sounds good. Definitely. And I definitely need to have more things like that on the list, because like you say, I just focus on all the things that I think need to be done, but the things I really want to do are the things with my family.
So that might be something to do, out of those 3 tasks on your closed list, you could have a thing where one of them each week has to be a fun thing. Something,
good idea.
Something fun, and 2 more householdy kind of things. That would be and then you really look forward to that and be interested to see if you can make sure you do all of the fun things and fit them in.
Because your little girls
Like this
will
is one
never walk into your kitchen and go, oh, this kitchen's so clean, it's amazing. But they will always remember spending time with their mummy.
And they should be in bed.
They're having a secret stop up.
I'm only going to be 5 minutes. So.
We promise we'll only keep her 5 minutes, if that.
Go on, go with Daddy. Mummy's only going to be 5 minutes.
Katie, come on.
I love you. Go on, Katie. I'm only going to be 5 minutes. Go on, be 5 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah,
That's
nothing
so
to
sorry.
apologise. So, one last question and then we will let you go. So earlier on, when we asked you how confident you felt about dealing with your overwhelm, and you were like 2, has that shifted?
Yeah, I do feel a bit better. I do.
What number would you put in? We're not expecting an 11. We're not that. But what would you put it at now? Just in terms of your level of confidence about starting to grab control.
7 maybe? 6 or 7?
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So that brings us to the end of the masterclass.
Thank you very much.
You are more than welcome. Thanks for sticking with us. With the quite nerve-wracking being the only one.
Yeah.
You did really well.
Thank you.
Thank you for your participation. That's where you get the value, when you engage with us, and you've done that brilliantly and you really got to grips with that. And so thank you, and we will absolutely let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Sorry.
We'll drop you a line in the Facebook group.
Sounds good.
Thank
you so much for your time.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Lisa.
Lisa. Bye.
Yeah, bye now.
Bye.